Tonight on Ear to the Ground, farming as therapy in County Cavan. Does it make a difference now, John, that you feel useful?
Yeah, I have a purpose to get up in the morning for. I have a purpose to go out there.
New season lamb in County Westmeath.
This lamb is coming backwards now, so once the cord breaks and he takes a breath, if we don't get him out in a hurry, he's dead.
And a blooming business in the Burren.
Mary called me and said, well, we have a go at this thing again.
Because you'd given up, essentially.
We had given up and we said, yeah, let's go for it.
Hello and welcome to Ear to the Ground. Well, over the last few years, social farming has really taken hold in Ireland. This is where work is offered on family farms as a form of social support, and it's aimed at people with a learning difficulty, an acquired brain injury or a mental health issue. It's been a resounding success, but now the scheme has come to an end. So I've travelled here to Mount Nugent in County Cavan to meet some people whose lives have been impacted by the scheme and to ask, why can't social farming be extended? It's early morning in Farranconnell, the home of Richard and Jackie Moeran. The Moerans are one of 20 families who took part in the social farming pilot scheme.
There's at least 2 days' work there, isn't there? I mean, that's a fair...
The scheme involved bringing participants to the farm for 1 day a week. For the Moerans, it was so successful that one of those who took part, John Murphy, is now employed by them on a part-time basis.
Shove them all into the front end loader and...
Myself and Richard were at a meeting and social farming was being spoken about. We both perked up and thought, gosh, that might be a really good idea for us, for Farranconnell, and bringing people onto the farm and letting them enjoy the beautiful countryside that we have here to enjoy on a daily basis.
Why is farming in particular a good way to run a social project like this? What is it about farming?
The ebb and flow of life on a farm, it's a cycle, isn't it? It's one of the greatest forces of life that we have on the planet. And it's all encapsulated right around us. We take it for granted because it's just part of our lives. But the power of coming onto a farm and the smell and the touch and that real feel of life, I think it's just a healing experience.
It was up to the participants on the scheme to decide how they wanted to spend their day on the farm. For the farmers involved, it meant organising their day around the social farmers. Were you apprehensive about this extra responsibility you were taking on?
Yeah.
Because you're responsible for these people and a lot of them do have extra needs.
Yeah, that was a major concern. You know, one of the big concerns that I had was if somebody didn't like us, you could end up with somebody being very upset or things could go wrong. But funny enough, as it turned out, it just seemed to work and there was never an issue. There was always backup there and there was plenty of training beforehand, and that's important to stress that there was a lot of training.
John first came to Farranconnell in September 2013. He was diagnosed with learning difficulties when he was 6. After attending special needs schools, at 18, he went to his first training centre.
Tedious work. So I started first place, it was in 88, and my job was there is to actually pick up a toothbrush and a box, put it in together, next person, toothpaste, a box, put it together, next person. And that was on for basically from 9 o'clock in the morning till 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
In his 20s, John had a nervous breakdown. How bad did things get for you, John?
I went into a deep hole and stayed there for years. Came to a certain point in my life where I would rather be dead than alive.
Over a year and a half ago, John's care team suggested social farming to him. He was immediately interested. What about farming appealed to you?
Let's just get back out and work outside. In farming, you're coming in the morning time, you're having a bit of socialising with the farmers, Richard and Jackie here, and then you go off, do a bit of work, and it's not scheduled, it's like, well, this is what we have to do. And you could be out fencing one day, you could be out moving livestock another day, you could be doing it, cutting a bit of grass. Every day it's different.
When you first came here then, what kind of John, if we were to meet you then, what would John have been like when you first started here?
I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you. I wouldn't be sitting here looking at you either. I'd rather be sitting in the background or 10 or 20 foot away. I had no skills to actually deal with people. I wouldn't trust people. I wouldn't trust men, especially in my life. It has totally done the opposite for me now. It's like I have the skills now to talk to people. Even my health-wise, it's got a lot better. Before I started, I was 19.5 stone weight, and everything's down now. I'm 14.5 stone weight now, and I'm much healthier.
The first time you met Richard and Jackie, did it take you long to get comfortable and feel relaxed with them and trust them?
In the first couple of weeks, I was very, very nervous. It took me a while, I did, but one of the things what really made me comfortable, myself and Richard was down in Big Ian there, and the cows broke out into the forestry down there, and he says, right, come on. He was 5 or 6 spaces in front of me, and I was standing behind going, right, can I trust him? Am I going to be in trouble here? But after an hour in the woods, in the forestry there, we basically came back out with the cows, and I could trust them. And that was kind of a turning point for me.
Do you consider them friends now?
Yes. Like, so, Richard and Jackie, it's like family to me.
So you've moved on. When the project was going, you were 1 day a week.
Yes.
But now you've stepped that up and you're employed here.
Yeah, my first job.
This is your first job?
Yeah.
It's clear that the social farming pilot scheme has been rewarding for all involved. And it would be a great pity to see all this good work come to an end. But unless proper funding is allocated, that's exactly what will happen.
There has to be a financial return to the farmer, and that's most important. And anything you do in life, if you're going to do it right, I mean, there has to be give and take. There is funding for most individuals that are currently going through daycare service, and that funding belongs to those individuals. And with the new directions, which is a sort of a new part of the drive for the HSE and mental health, individuals will have a greater say in what they do with their own time as far as services are concerned. So if they want to avail of social farming, some of the allocated funding that would have been allocated towards that individual will now be able to be steered towards social farming so that everybody wins.
The social farming experience has made a powerful impact, not only upon John, but also on Richard and Jackie.
I've got a greater understanding now of mental health. I've got a greater understanding of the system, how it works. But more importantly, the most important thing is I've kind of discovered this reward. Because when you help somebody and you can really see that effect take hold, it's a really powerful thing.
It'll take some time. I think it will most definitely become mainstream, and I think within all rural communities there are lots of people out there that could really benefit from social farming and having the connection with the community and having the connection with people that understand them.
There's plenty of part of the place of John Murphy's up and down the country. There is in centres, in psychiatric departments, in hospitals, the whole lot. If you give them a chance, they will do it. They will get out there, and there'll be less people going to the hospitals, get more people on the farms. If they let this go, be a lot of people out there sad about it. I'm getting emotional now. If it wasn't for social farming to give me this outlet, there's no socialising for me.
Does it make a difference now, John, that you feel useful?
Yeah, I have a purpose to get up in the morning for. I have a purpose to go out there. If it wasn't for Richard and Jackie here, I'd be still sitting there doing nothing, or I could be in hospital, or even the worst thing, I could be dead. I could be 6 foot under.
Join us after the break when Darragh will be exploring the beauty of the Burren.
We had an archaeologist from Galway County Council here, and he said that a lot of people lived here, probably around the famine time.
Okay. When you say a lot of people, you're talking 10?
No, hundreds.
Really?
Yeah.
And Ella will be greeting the new season lambs.
And grand, a little yo to keep her line going.
I'm here in Kinvara at the gateway to the Burren, which of course is renowned for this rocky landscape that you see all around me here. But it's the same rocky landscape that also makes farming here really tough and only suited to dry stock production like beef and sheep, which of course is notoriously unprofitable. Yet I'm on my way to meet a couple who've turned these self-same rocks on their farm into a really successful business enterprise.
Mary and Roy Birmingham own a 50-acre organic beef farm. They've always struggled to generate an income from the land here, so 5 years ago they decided to make use of the farm's different habitats to set up a nature sanctuary open to the public.
We have a disappearing lake, a turlock, which is tidal but fresh water. So it's quite unique to the world, even though there's a few of them around this area in Galway. And that would be one habitat in the Burren. But we also have grassland with a variety of orchids you'd find in the Burren. We have woodland, scrubland. We have a doline, which is a karst feature. It's a collapsed underground cave.
But turning those habitats into a successful business hasn't been easy for Mary and Roy. It took over 3 years to get this enterprise off the ground.
We had dropped the whole project for a while, and Mary got a call one day from a lady in Leader and said, you know, there's a new round of grants going to be coming online soon. Are you still interested? And Mary called me and said, you know, will we have a go at this thing again?
Because you'd given up essentially.
We had given up and we said, yeah, let's go for it.
The Burren Nature Sanctuary has lots for visitors to enjoy, including an interpretive centre and cafe, a pet farm and play areas for kids. At the centre of the whole concept is a fascinating, not to mention educational, nature trail.
The nature walk is a mile long, which is 3,750 steps, and every child or adult should do 10,000 a day. So we give people a reason to go out on the nature walk. There's little treasure hunts, as the bird box treasure hunt now, and once they're out in nature, they're happy.
I decided to join Mary and a group of younger visitors on the next walk, along with the farm's pet pig, Norman.
It looks like to me that Norman could benefit from this walk a little bit just as much as the humans. These are stone walls here. What's all this about?
When we were making the nature walk, we knew this little farm complex was here, but we came across a lot of middens, piles of oysters and mussels. And we had an archaeologist from Galway County Council here, and he said that a lot of people lived here, probably around the famine time.
Okay. When they say a lot of people, you're talking 10?
No, hundreds.
Really?
Yeah.
But there are some very special little people who still live in these woods.
So this townland is Clunacy, which means meadow of the fairy. So who'd like to see the fairy houses?
Me.
Okay, you have to be very quiet. So if the adults are talking, can you do this? Shh.
So we're after leaving behind the shaded area. Tell us a little bit about what we're looking at around here now. We're in a much rockier area, I suppose.
Yeah, so we have 25 acres of, you call it shattered limestone pavement, and all the flora that would be associated with that in the Burren. So for tourists, it's interesting that the flowers from different parts of the world survive here happily together. So you have the Mediterranean orchids, you have mountain avens, which is an Arctic plant. You have the spring gentians and a few other alpine plants. And the maidenhair fern is actually a subtropical plant.
It's grand walking along this nice path now, but when you were trying to farm this, I mean, to me, coming from County Meath, it seems like an impossibility.
Yeah, we had trouble because we couldn't actually herd the cattle when they were down here, and we did lose a cow. Since we've had the paths, the cows come down in the winter and they eat out the rough grass, which is actually very beneficial to the orchids and some of the special flowers.
So farming this wasn't really practical for you either, was it?
No, it was virtually impossible. I mean, when the Department of Agriculture guy came to count our forage area, he got stuck down here for 4 hours. And it's only 25, he got lost for 4 hours. It's only 25 acres, so.
Go away.
I thought he'd gone to Kinvara for lunch.
The Burren Nature Sanctuary now employs 4 full-time staff and a further 15 on a part-time basis at peak season. In 2014, its first full year of business, it welcomed nearly 20,000 visitors.
At this stage, we know what we're doing, which we didn't when we started. And it is going really well, it's really popular, but it's still trial and error.
Do you ever miss being an employee and just clocking in and clocking out?
I do. I miss being an employee, and I never realised how difficult it was to be an employer.
Yeah.
And I feel like going back to all my previous employers and apologising to all of them.
I suppose it's about finding the balance.
Yeah, we haven't quite found the balance, but we do love nature, and this is all about nature, so at least you're doing something that you love.
Spring lamb is a delicacy here in Ireland, and it's a very busy time for sheep farmers across the country. Well, we caught up with Gordon and Yvonne Johnson on their beautiful farm in Westmeath. They've certainly got their hands full.
Come on. We're 52 hectares here on the farm. It's a fragmented farm, and I'd say we'll be lambing 540 ewes this year. We winter sheep on straw and concentrate, which is unusual for farmers in this country, mainly because it's easy work and they're much cleaner.
The Johnstons have 500 crossbred ewes in their commercial flock, but they also breed pedigree Vendine sheep. They take a lot more care and attention, especially when they're lambing.
Gordon and say I liked the cuddly heads of the Vendines, but he was using Vendines long before I took a liking to the pedigrees. We like breeding them, we like following the lines of them, and we like showing them as well. We show during the summer. This show has 3 lambs.
Oh, this will be a very prolific breed. We have a lot of triplets, a lot of 2 or 3 fours, I'd say,
yeah,
in this batch.
This lamb is coming backwards now, so I have to make sure that she has plenty of room to let it out, because once the cord breaks and he takes a breath, if we don't get him out in a hurry, he's dead. So here goes. That looks good. Clear the airways. And Gordon will do the postnatal care.
We use Hibitane on the navels, just to stop infections coming into the navel. If you kick off a bacteria or something early on in the season, it can be a nightmare after. So we'd disinfect everything between lambings. There's a pen down there now that we've cleared this morning, and it's going to be cleaned out now. It'll be swept and then sprayed with disinfectant. And you saw there, as soon as the lambs hit the ground, their navel is disinfected. You just can't afford to let any infection in, because once they start spreading it around, it's very hard to stop it.
4.4 kilos. That's a good weight for a triplet, 4.4. We'd normally have twins at about that, and singles would be in 5.5 sort of range. Triplets 3 to 4, that sort of range.
A healthy birth weight means the lamb has a better chance of surviving and thriving, but it takes an awful lot of work to get it there.
I often think that we're too particular about our sheep. We try and save every lamb. The New Zealand system would be very different, and there would be a natural cull going on all the time. The sheep that is like that one there with the 3, she wouldn't be there the next year.
With 1 lamb safely delivered, it was time for the remaining triplets to enter the world.
There's 2 lambs coming together here to sort them out. I'm letting her do the work herself. I'm just guiding the head and the feet at this stage. Now he's already breathing. Now, and this one is coming backwards as well. Okay, here we go. And grand, a little yo to keep her line going. So that's 2 girls and a boy.
When we're in the crossbreds now and lambing 500 and maybe getting 30 or 40 ewes lambing a day, it's very important that there be as easy care as possible. So the attention to the feeding of the ewes is vital. That you have a lamb that'll get up and go on, and 24 hours later he's strong enough to be out in the field.
5.2. 5.9.
Nearly 6 kilos.
Nearly 6 kilos.
Because ewes have only 2 teats, one of the triplets will have to be fostered or reared by hand as a pet lamb.
One of those lambs will be taken and be petted. We'll make sure they get colostrum from the mother first, then probably supplemented with cow's milk. And then after that, they'll be on artificial milk. We'd probably have 5 or 6 pets that we'd rear.
Over 3/4 of lambs reared in Ireland are exported, so farmers depend on markets in Europe and further afield for their sales.
Price returns are certainly above and beyond where they were a number of years ago, and that's really a reflection on there's less sheep meat being produced within Europe, but probably the big factor which is securing or assisting the price to hold stable is less New Zealand lamb coming into Europe. So on a sort of a medium to long-term outlook, I wouldn't foresee any sort of a huge blip on the radar.
Some of the cheaper cuts maybe are going to the UK markets. Some of the prime cuts then are going to the French market, which is still a major market. And then the mainland Europe and Northern Europe in particular are growth areas for the Irish sheep meat industry as a whole. On the domestic market, I think we're still looking at an older demographic. Retailers are actively trying to engage younger customers with value-added products, maybe with stuffed products, with crumbed products, with flavoured products.
The last 6-7 years it's kind of stayed steady. It hasn't grown or it hasn't fallen, but it's more of a luxury product. It's an expensive enough product. Different generations as well. You have the older people, say, will be more inclined to have lamb than the people of, say, my generation.
Board BA are working together with our counterparts in the UK and France. It's a campaign which over the 3 years will spend somewhere in the order of about €7.7 million. And the objective really is to work with younger consumers in terms of profiling and positioning lamb as a fantastic, enjoyable meal, as a convenient meat as well.
Even with promotion and premium markets abroad, making a decent return from sheep farming in Ireland is a challenge. Sheep farmers depend on the single farm payment to stay in business.
I don't think the price is high enough to sustain itself. If we get a cut in our single farm payment like they're saying is coming down the line, you will have to sit and think about it, because while we're making a profit, it wouldn't justify the work we're putting into it.
Next week on Ear to the Ground, I'll be asking when my broadband will get better. It's green, you just leave it there and cross your fingers that it'll work. Ella will be out west asking whose water is it anyway.
It's just about putting bread on the table and paying your mortgage and having the right to live where you want to live, where you were brought up.
And Darragh will be meeting some young farmers of the future.
There was a bit of slagging this morning, alright, about Ear to the Ground coming, celebrities here and all, you know yourself. So, it's a great buzz around school, yeah.
Don't forget this programme will be repeated on Sunday at lunchtime after the farming weather. You can contact us by phone, email or follow us on Facebook or Twitter. And you can hear more rural stories on Countrywide with Damien O'Reilly on Saturday morning on RTE Radio 1.